What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Get the Bag podcast. I'm your host, Claudia Castro. Got my co-host, Tim Park. What
What's up,
is
fam?
going on? This is episode 22. Had a bit change of plans. We were originally supposed to have a guest on here today, but some personal things came up, so we're going to have to reschedule, but the show must go on. We have a really
Absolutely.
important topic when we were thinking like, oh, what can we talk about for today? We're considering talking about what it is that we're doing right now in our business and how we're moving with intention and how we collaborate and being really strategic with the partnerships we're creating, whether with each other or with other investors, wholesalers, realtors that we're working with. So we kind of wanted to break that down a little bit, give you guys some points, and also discuss, give you a rundown of like how it's been working out for us so far. So, but before we get all into that, don't forget to like this episode, subscribe. We're on here every week, typically every Wednesdays, but schedules have been a little bit crazy. So we're coordinating, we're having to coordinate, but we're on here every week. We typically have a guest or a really exciting topic. So make sure you guys like this. We want to keep raising our subscribers and help with the algorithm, of course. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think boosting your real estate success. So I think we've talked about this in the past and like partnering up with each other. And obviously that's something we've done and closed deals by partnering up. And that's something you and I have been talking about, but until really recently, we kind of set out a plan and actually like started executing on it. Because I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is you can have an idea, right? You can have, it sounds nice on paper, or it
Right.
sounds nice just talking about it. But when there's no action being done after the fact, or, things just kind of stand still there, it's a little bit difficult, right? It's a little bit difficult to do that, to actually follow through. So it was really cool once it kind of clicked for the both of us on what we can do and leveraging the relationships you have, Tim, and then the process I have on the acquisition side and just sort of the operations and how we can coordinate, like things really clicked. And so we're really starting to see the effects of this. And I think the hardest part is being consistent. Once you figure something out and keeping the consistency on that, and keeping up with everything. Right.
Right.
So I think one of the first things I would say is also, not only talking about it, but like setting up a plan. Like, what's your action steps?
Right. Right. And I think that's really important on how we did that, and we're continuing to adjust that plan and processes as we work together. And I believe that we took the action. We put the plan in place. We took the action. We're seeing the results right now. And we're getting a lot of feedback. I mean, the stats that you kind of shared with me earlier in the week were like just unbelievable on the process that we're doing, and then just adjusting that too, because we're kind of learning how to work together in this new process of what we're doing also. But we're focused on the ultimate goal, right? Because we know um, one, the money's there. Two, the deals are there. It's just getting it across the finish line. That's all.
Right. Yeah, and I think the other thing too is obviously being able to identify the right person to work with too. Like somebody that's going to complement your skill set. So if we were both really good, I mean, not to say we couldn't get it done, we definitely could, but if you really want to create a process out of it where you can kind of turn it into a business almost in a way, you kind of have to share that. Because if, say if we're both on the dispo side, like, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, or I don't want to, or that's not really my strong suit, it's going to take a little bit longer. So it's good to find somebody that kind of complements your skills. So I think that's why you and I have always worked really well together. Because, for you, you've always leveraged, I mean, we both leverage our relationships, but for you, that's really like your bread and butter is on the dispo side, is connecting with buyers and investors. And for me, it's more on the process end of the acquisitions process of like, how can we shoot this out to people and like finding different methods. So I think that's worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
In this. And honestly, with this whole process, I really didn't expect. I've gotten more success this way than even through texting. The amount of
Yeah.
leads that have come in, and probably now thinking about it, I'm like, probably shouldn't have shot so many emails, at once. So I think we shot over
Right.
100
I know.
contacts, and so now we're having to manage this. And yeah, I was taking a look at the stats again, and looks like, yeah, we sent out 115 emails.
Mm-hmm.
95 out of those 115 opened those emails. So that's an 82% open rate, which is really,
That's
really good.
amazing. Amazing.
That's really good. And then reply rate, 40%. That's like in texting, we talk about if the reply rate, meaning the contact rate, somebody actually replied back to you. If it's
Mm-hmm.
over 20, 25 to 30%, that's good. So 40%
Mm-hmm.
is like really,
Is
really good.
huge.
Um,
Huge.
is huge. But it's, what we found out too is like, okay, what are we going to do with that information? Okay, we got
Yeah.
people to reply back. And so it's like creating a system and process out of that. Okay, we have a spreadsheet. We'll eventually maybe use a software or utilize one of the softwares we've used in the past. But that's it's we with this, it's like we've taken action, and we're figuring things out as we go. So what
Yeah.
happens too is like people just sort of get stuck, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this got really hard. I'm just gonna
Mm-hmm.
just let go. I did one part at least.
Right.
But for us, it's just kind of like, all right, well, what can we do to maximize? What's sort of the next step
Mm-hmm.
in this process?
Yeah. And we've learned a lot just from the inundation of replies back and keeping up with those emails, and then making sure none of them fall through the cracks. Because if
Mm-hmm.
it is a deal or potential deal that some of the people are saying, oh, that offer was maybe too low, then we kind of go back, assess that, and then put it into like our lead list, and then kind of
Mm-hmm.
see how we could possibly do the deal and come to a number that is reasonable, so we can actually put in an LOI or an official offer
Right.
through an agent as well too. So
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. And I think
mhm.
um, it's just it also is it's a long-term game with everything, right?
Mhm.
Like with the relationships you're building with these agents that will go to bat for you, right? Or like investors that like build where they have that trust. So I think it's also building the trust and collaboration with the
Mhm.
people that you're working with. So you and I are obviously really close. So we already kind of automatically have that trust, and then that collaboration. We obviously work on this podcast together.
Right.
So it's just also knowing, okay, I identified the right person. It's almost like dating, right? Like I've identified the right person. We
Exactly.
complement each other. Okay, we've built some trust. Okay, how are we going to take these skills and collaborate? How am I going to take these knowledge I've learned from this agent and collaborate? So I think that's a big part of that, is building that trust with whoever you're working with. Because it's a small town. Like,
Mhm.
for even for LA, right? It's a small town.
It
It's a
is.
big town, but it's a small circle where,
Yeah.
like, the
100%.
circles are really tight. So if you're seeing like cutting people off or like mistreating them in whatever form, that's going to spread. People aren't going to want to work with you. So your reputation is so key. So if you want people to go back for you and work for agents where they'll put offers for you,
Mhm.
or investors that want to work with you, you really have to build that trust. And a lot of times it's just putting in the work, and
Mhm.
doing your own due diligence as
Right.
well.
Right. And um that factor is just as much more important, maybe more important than actually getting the deals, is actually building that relationship, and that your credibility in the industry as a one, maybe a closer, one that is trustworthy, integrity. You got to set your business up in a way that people
Hmm.
are wanting to do business with you,
Exactly.
or they're hearing about things that you're doing within your market, that they can say, oh, these guys are doing the right thing and they do it right. So I think that's
Right.
really important, because you'll get more business just from that word of mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've seen it. I've also connected with other realtors or just people in the real estate space that will tell me, like, if you've built that trust through the years, a lot of times this is why it's like, especially for agents, I think it takes time to like get to the point where you can like close more deals, is because you need time to establish your network, like
Mm-hmm.
where you get referrals and you get repeatable business too. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's underrated, and that's something that we're trying to aim towards too, because we've talked to um I think you were the one telling me, right? And like looking through Privy, where
Mm-hmm.
this guy was like, I'm connecting with agents or brokers that
Mm-hmm.
had multiple deals. So instead of working on just one deal, I have maybe 4 or 5 deals that I can work through.
Absolutely.
And that's just one relationship. Imagine you have 10 of those brokers, or um, where you can really leverage that. So it takes time to like really um, build up these relationships and gain that repeatable business, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing for agents, right? Is like you want you want customers or clients to return back to you, be like, oh well, I have this other house, or I've lived here now for 2 years, or my mom passed away and they have this house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just never know when it may come back. So it's like you have to treat the people that you work with respect, being kind, and yeah, and just kind of building that trust. So I think that's really huge too. I had a conversation with the broker the other day. We were talking about a deal, and I was like, hey, we're always buying deals. I'd be happy to take a look at your inventory or whatever
Mm-hmm.
pocket listings you have. And he was like, I don't even know you. He's like, I'm not just gonna give you my pocket deals. He's kind of a douche.
Yeah.
Um, the price didn't make sense. He's like, I'm gonna get. I've been paid. I've been in this business. I'm gonna get paid either way. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of know what to expect. But
Right.
I was just like, well, let's set up time for a call. Let's set up time for coffee or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so people aren't just gonna give away their
Yeah.
leads, because that's
Yeah.
leverage too.
Absolutely. And I think and some people aren't the right fit, like, too. It's like, there's thousands and, millions of different agents out there in just the whole United States. And um whatever market you're in and you're building a relationship, it's, some people are going to fit into your wheelhouse, some people aren't, and you just got to weed those people out if you want to do business with them, more business with them, or not do business with them. And because there's enough business out there that you can, move on to another person, that fits and
Right.
understands, especially as investors, working with real estate agents or brokers is, you should welcome that. All right. Because
Right.
if you find the right one, that's going to be an asset to your business, 100%. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's huge as well. And I think by collaborating not only with realtors, or like say you and I, is like we're able to expand. Like, because it's with business, right? It's all process oriented,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we get our process down to the T, we can repeat it somewhere else. And this
Yep.
is what a lot of people talk about too when they jump into different markets. So if we wanted to do this, say in KC, for example, because you have
Mm-hmm.
or in Tennessee, because I have
Mm-hmm.
relationships there, we can just literally take that process down and then like migrate it over, and that's how you
Mm-hmm.
can really expand your business.
Yep.
Or maybe different regions in the same state, like it just doesn't matter. So I think really looking at it from that perspective, in expanding your reach and what you can accomplish with the people that you work with, can really kind of expand access, or I guess a broader pool
Mm-hmm.
of clients, or sellers, properties that you run into. So
Right.
I think this is something I'm really seeing too, even through this. I'm kind of seeing like the vision of it, right? Of like, this wasn't very hard to implement. It's just the process, right? Getting that
Yeah.
down. But I'm like,
Yeah.
once we get it down, like we can hire a VA to do like, and that's how you do it, right? This is what we talk
Yeah.
about in wholesaling in general, right? Is do the process first, figure it out, and then you can teach it
Right.
to a VA, and then like you kind of like work on the next thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then hire out. So I think it's like really cool to actually see that it like happening in real time, um, and really the possibilities.
Yeah, and it's cool because the process we're coming up with will work, like, because we're adjusting it as we go now, but knowing that, hey, we've found something that actually can give us some uh, like a return in regards to response times, and then we can scale it up from there when our process is kind of honed in, and
Right,
so instead of 100 emails, we're gonna be sending out 15, 2,000 emails,
right.
and if we get a 40% return rate on that, our process is better better be in place for that, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we've kind of found that even just sending 115 emails, we're
Yeah,
like, I was
it's
like,
get
oh
a little
shit.
overwhelmed. Yeah,
Like we realized too, I'm like, okay, I can't send this to my business inbox because then you don't have visibility. I'm literally forwarding stuff to you. So then we learned,
right.
okay, we got to create a separate inbox that's managed, and then probably create filters
Mm-hmm.
off of that where it's like any email that comes in, or yeah, any email that comes into this specific email, it's labeled, it does this, this, and that, so that's nice and organized. And we can even create automations, right, where
Yeah.
like whatever email it gets created in the spreadsheet. So there's a lot of things that still need to be worked on, but we see the potential in it, like I was talking
Mm-hmm.
about earlier. And what's really cool is we've been able to maximize our resources by
Mm-hmm.
combining or by collaborating. So it's a little bit cheaper because we're both kind of splitting some costs, right? Of like
Mm-hmm.
um, when it comes to the marketing, the tools,
Right.
um, the time too.
Yeah.
Like I'm out of town, right?
Yep.
You're in town. And there was like a lead or that we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
working on, and I was like, hey, can you make it? You're like, yeah, sure. And
Yeah.
like you were able to go through. So and likewise, if you were out of town or if you couldn't make it because you were another appointment, I'm for sure going to coordinate and do that. So that's what's really cool is you can really leverage your time costs when you kind of throw out this sort of collaboration effort with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just sets up a recipe for scale, really. I mean, like when you're collaborating with somebody that you complement each other, like you had discussed earlier, and you
Yep.
have the process in place, that just equals success and scalability, right?
Right.
And that's huge. If you're able to take your business from 1 to 2 deals, a month, to 10 to 15 deals, that is a considerable amount of revenue coming into your business. And
Right.
if you have
That's
the
life
price,
changing.
yeah, life changing for sure, for sure.
And but even for us, like we're 1 or 2 deals out here in Cali or in Cali,
Right,
that can equal 10 to 15 deals, right? Like we're talking about like 5 or 10 grand a
absolutely.
deal. So I believe, and I think that's why we kind of it clicked for us over like quality over
Mm-hmm.
quantity, right?
That's it.
So in bigger markets like this, if it's something where we can close on $1 million deals, where whether it be commercial or residential, you're talking about 6-figure deals easily
Right.
per deal, maybe even if it's lower than that, like
Yeah.
that's that's pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
You can close 2 to 4 deals easily. Now it may take more time, but a lot of times we've learned with commercial or anything, it's the same amount of time as residential.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, if we can like really narrow down our focus and niche down on like what it is we're doing, we don't have to do the 10, 15 deals. Maybe you do have to do that in like a smaller market, right?
Right. Right.
um, Maybe that makes more sense because you do need a bigger team. I feel like if you're doing like 10 to 15 deals a month,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all about your process at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. And I think what was really cool about what we did was is that, like, we sent out and we adjusted our formula, I guess, for spitting out
Yeah,
like offers. And what was cool was, like, we were way low on our
It
offers.
was disrespectful, low, disrespectfully low.
we've we've gotten several emails back saying that was disrespectful. So, but
Hey, they emailed us back, which is
yeah,
like
it was
what's
cool.
funny. I'm like, yo, my client isn't gonna take that. I'm like, okay, well, what will they take? So this is where you
Exactly.
open up a conversation. But we realize that's also another kind of learning is like, oh, maybe this discount was it isn't tailored towards multifamily, maybe more
Right.
residential.
Mm-hmm.
But like with multifamily, that's all in the cap rate, right? So it's
Exactly.
like we had to adjust it because I was like, hey, but even with that, they still responded. So that just shows
They
the
did.
market.
Yeah. And
They're
it's
like
funny
people are
because
desperate.
when you're working with the agent, they really kind of have to, they're responsible for sharing any kind of offer with their client.
Right.
So that was why it was important to actually just make an offer via email. And then so then we just learned that like, hey, okay, how about we just adjust the percentage of offer based on the feedback we're getting on the first batch of emails that we sent out, and
Right.
then from there we kind of adjusted the formula. So now we're getting tons more interest in that because it's a reasonable offer.
It's still
um,
low, but it's
yeah,
reasonable. Yeah.
right,
And that's
right,
the biggest thing because you it's as we always talk about the anchor price, right? We're basically throwing really, really low, disrespectful anchor prices, but you can always work your way up right from there because we just want a response and see how gauge how interested they are, and then going from there. So I think the biggest learnings, or I guess you want to call it struggle, that we're pain point that we're dealing with is like, okay, how do we manage all these interested
right.
parties who replied back, sent their financials, and how do we prioritize? Okay, are we just sending them all out, or it's kind of prioritizing which ones we want to reach out to first, or with an offer. And this is something we were just talking about too. Is like with properties that are on the market, sometimes the listing agents they require you to either they can either make a offer on behalf of you, or you need to find an agent. So that's another kind of learning on like, oh, we can't just send an LOI. Maybe some people would take it, but other people, other listing agents or whatever brokers require you to have an agent instead make an offer on behalf of you. So that's something else to consider to add to our process.
Yeah. And we have no problem with that, because the agents usually get paid on the seller side regarding on that. But we there's like we've learned there's more ways to kind of close a deal, more than one way to close a deal. So
Hmm.
regardless of what that looks like with the agents, we still can make some money on our side. So it just
Right.
depends on how our exit strategy with the deal is going to be.
Right.
And it
Right.
could be different for each deal. And we will still be able to come out with some kind of revenue generation on that.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like kind of what Camille says is partnerships bring motivation and
Mm.
support when unexpected things come up. And that was kind of in line with my last point, but it was more on like negotiations and closing strategy. So that's a way where you can kind of leverage each other, right? Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
you know, if some stuff comes up where it's like you're not on your own dealing with it, you have somebody else to kind of like help kind of balance that off, or discuss some strategies on like, okay, well maybe this doesn't work because of this situation that came up. What else can we do? Like there's nothing better than having two brains collaborating versus just one.
Right.
So I think that also helps with the negotiations too, right? So this one lead that we walked into, you were like, okay, she does more residential, I'm more on the commercial side.
Mhm.
And just it's just kind of how you present yourself
Yeah.
in these conversations.
Yeah, because I think the way you present yourself in the company that you're trying to represent in these deals is like there's so many different ways to kind of approach it, and we just go off we feed off of what they give us, and then
Right,
we take an approach that will work for them, that makes them feel more comfortable to do a deal with us, if that makes
right,
sense.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And yeah, it's just adaptability too.
Right,
Is like
right.
knowing, being flexible, knowing like not one solution is always the end all be all. Like you have to be ready for stuff. And I feel like with wholesaling, like that's what it is. Like you deal with
Mhm.
so much stuff, and people who are new to either wholesaling or being an agent, they're not maybe used to all the scenarios that they may run into. All right,
Yeah.
as we've been through a lot where it's like
Yeah.
cancel deals or so you kind of learn how to navigate it, and you can add this to your process too. On like, okay, if this situation does come up, these are things to consider. So it's yeah, it's definitely a great way to kind of partner up with somebody, and also kind of being intentional and focusing on the quality of like
Mhm.
of your process.
Right, right. And it's funny, like, I'll talk to agents or, and I think I brought up something with this one agent where, yeah, I just closed the deal. I had to double close. And they're like, what's a double close? They didn't know what
Hmm.
that was. And, it's
Or they
kind
didn't know what a whisper price was.
of, that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, no, it's a situation where a lot of either you run into agents or brokers that are stuck in their process, like that they only know one way to kind of do the deal. And then if
Hmm.
you're talk to someone that is more open and understands, like, hey, there's more ways to do a deal than just the traditional way,
Right.
then then I think that's someone you can definitely work with. But also, like, educating them on these situations or terminology, like you said, and
Right.
and I think because then you become the expert um,
Yeah.
in investing, and they can see that, hey, you've done multiple deals, you're expanding their knowledge base on how you do your process, and then also how you conduct your business.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's you. We can just drop the mic right there, like because that's true. I mean, in all grand scheme of things, it's what it comes down to. So it's, um, I think even going to what Camille was saying is, um, if the person you're partnering up with is also your accountability partner, which I feel like it should be, where we're checking in on like, hey, what's up, what's
Hmm.
the stats with this or that. It's a double win because ultimately we both have a goal. We're not focused on the goal or the outcome. Like even like
Hmm.
we've been talking about it to a lot on like closing six-figure deals,
Hmm.
um, multiple six-figure deals, and I was telling him like that shit's already happened. Like the wires hit, the checks
I
in our
love
hand.
it.
It's just sort of like having that mentality. That it's going to happen, that you believe in each other, you're there to
Hmm.
support each other. So I mean, I think that's what it all comes down to, is are we on the same page,
Yep.
aligned with the same goals, we're both putting in the work, and have specific goals or roles, I should say, on
Hmm.
like what it is we're doing, and just going from there. So yeah, really excited to kind of check in maybe in the next 3 months to see how this goes.
I know. And it's just, I think, I was thinking back. I mean, we're almost at time, but I was just thinking back about, like, when we first got into real estate, how much our business has expanded, and then the collaboration
Hmm.
um, with us has gotten stronger throughout the years,
Yeah.
and just how much we've learned from it. And I know people coming into the U or the course and stuff are new, and they're um, just green to kind of maybe real estate, but we were that
Right.
way too. And so
Yeah.
just never, just believe in yourself. That's all. And believe in your capabilities. And then the education will always come as you are doing and take action. So,
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's all you can really ask for is, and being patient and trusting
mm,
the process. So
yeah.
even with this, it can get like, it's easy to just be like, okay, well this is a lot, right? With like all the leads. But this is where like the consistency and the patience comes into play. You can't give up right when it is. Like you're almost there. Like we've been in this business now for some time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I was just telling somebody, like people who started around the same time we did are no longer doing real estate.
100%.
They're
Yeah.
they're they're doing something else. I could have easily given up, right?
Yeah. Me
Like you
too.
could have easily given up, but we didn't. We're still here, and it's really hard to. maybe seeing other people that either started after, or, and that's where that comparison, is a thief of joy. People closing multiple deals, but just focus on what you have going on. And exactly like Camille says, getting 1% better each day. Just focus on being on whatever consistency looks like for you. Work on that, and the rest is going to follow. Like, it may take a little bit longer, but that's okay. Everyone's on their own path, their own journey. So stop focusing on what other people are doing, and don't look for the quick solution or instant satisfaction or instant gratification, because that's not going to get you anywhere. There are those people that have gone the instant gratification, but what have they done with it too? Like, it's all about what you do with it. So I just kind of wanted to leave the audience today with that, because I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
is
100%.
No matter, we can talk about whatever strategies, whatever partnerships, partnering up with realtors or whatever, but if you're not doing anything about it, or if you're just not being patient with yourself and not giving yourself grace, you're on the path for giving up. And that's not what it's all about. Like, if you truly believe like this is what you want, you got to fight for it.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, appreciate everybody who tuned in. Hope you guys got a lot out of this. We'll definitely probably do another check-in episode, maybe in the next 3 months.
Love
or
it.
when we close a deal, for
sure.
You can definitely
for sure. We'll do a recap.
But appreciate you guys' flexibility. We're supposed to have our guests today, but we'll definitely reschedule. But we do have some guests coming up in the next couple of weeks this month. I'm really, really excited. Really good friends of mine, and I think other people that we know. So
we got some big names. Tune in. We got big names coming in the pipeline.
Yes, absolutely. So make sure you reach out to us if you have any questions. I'm at The Real Gladia, Tim at Mr. Tim REI. But hit us up if you have any questions. If you want to join be a guest on the podcast, I think we need to add a list to or a link.
To the comment. Description.
If you guys want to join, like, hit us up, or any questions related to what we've discussed. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Well, today's Friday.
Friday weekend.
Wednesday, but have a great weekend, and we'll connect with y'all next week.
All right. Peace.